Alrighty, y'all. We are with Futives right now, arguably the greatest Call of Duty player out there. I guess that's my first questions for you. What do you think of people saying that you're the best?
Oh, well, I think people who say that usually just don't realize the actual skill ceiling that Call of Duty and video games have in general. Like, a lot of the way people think of video games is that you're either good or you're not. And I think a lot of casual people, I'd actually call myself a casual, but
Really?
yeah, for sure. Because people don't realize how much time people put into video games, especially now that it's like one of the biggest things I'm happy about when it comes to like streamers and the internet is how I guess like normalized video games have become. And I mainly think that's because of Fortnite and Ninja. That guy single-handedly made video games cool again. Because back in like 2010, if you played video games and you were over like the age of like 16, you were just kind of seen as like a loser. And it's
Yeah.
still kind of like that now, but I think with the resurgence of, the internet culture, influencers, all that stuff, Ninja made video games cool. But I think it's still kind of like almost like a new concept of the ceiling that people haven't even seen yet, because a lot of the content that is popular is more, casual oriented. People don't realize the money and time that is put into like professional gaming, because me myself, I'd call myself more of a content creator than a professional gaming for sure.
Okay.
Because I personally know like Call of Duty pros, and the amount of time and mental work they put into playing video games is absolutely insane, because their life is on the line when they're playing. If they don't place well, if they don't play well, they can lose their job, and it's a very competitive market. So I'm nowhere close to the best player, a professional player even, because people usually come to my Twitch chat or even say my YouTube videos that I could be like a pro if I wanted to, like why don't I join a team, stuff like that. And, organizations is just a completely different story and situation with how inflated player salaries are and how competitive that can be. And even people who kind of don't do enough with their platform.
Gotcha. How many hours do you think you put in a week playing?
Unfortunately, right now it's extremely random. But like when I was younger, like a couple years ago, even before I did YouTube, that's when I actually played the most. Because that's when I actually wanted to play competitively. I did play competitively, not like a pro level or anything, but I just did it kind of like as an amateur. One of the ways I've gone over it in my YouTube videos as well is in like how to get better as a Call of Duty player. It's the same way you get better at anything in life, sports, anything you're interested in is practice. I would shoot just like, they have private matches where you can just shoot robots. Like they're not real people, but getting the muscle memory of aiming is what matters a lot in Call of Duty. Like obviously playing the game, knowing the maps, knowing how people play is extremely important. But one of the best, like I would literally anytime I could, if I was doing anything, I'd be shooting something. You know what I mean? Like just getting the muscle memory in is what matters the most. And unfortunately, now that I've made this my full-time job, it's sad to say, but that time and that passion you had before isn't as easily applicable than it was before. Kind of like when you just had nothing to do all day, you just be able to game all day. But now I have personal responsibilities. I have content to create, and I have to stream. And no one's gonna want to like watch you just streaming yourself do that. You have to be constantly entertaining.
Yeah, it is kind of, it's a job. And that's what I was going to say. Like, do you feel like you might be able to like lose the magic on playing games once it becomes a job? Like, is it ever like that? Or is it kind of like a sliding scale? Like sometimes you're really into it, sometimes it's a lot of work. Like what's that kind of like, making it your job versus just a hobby originally?
It's definitely extremely different when you have to see it as a job. But for some people, it's more just like, I think with the thing with Call of Duty is that it's a yearly release. And I mean, they make it a yearly release just because they want to make the most money as possible. If they put out one good game and then wait 3 years, that's $60 they could lose every year from millions of people buying the game. So I think what happens for a lot of people is they'll really like one game, get super attached to it, or they'll really hate it and go back to the old one. So I think with the way the Call of Duty cycle is, it really just depends on the game you're playing. If you like the game, you're going to want to play it more. If it's fun to create content, you're going to want to do it more. It really depends on the game. But I mean, one of my favorite Call of Duties is like Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. Those are the games I have the most hours in. And obviously it's going to be more enjoyable. But for like games like Vanguard, I didn't even play them. Like I just went back. And I think that definitely has like a big part on how much you want to play a game and whether it feels like a job or not. Because if you genuinely enjoy it, you don't care. And even though like it is definitely different when you see it as your job, but that's probably like one of the biggest tips I can give people is you should never see YouTube or anything like that as a job. A lot of people come into my channel like, hey, how do you become a content creator? Do you have any tips for streaming, any tips for YouTube? And my biggest tip would to be have fun. Like if you're thinking of it as a job when you have no one watching you, you're never going to enjoy it, and no one's ever going to want to watch a YouTuber or a content creator who doesn't seem like they enjoy what they do and are having fun. And obviously, this might not sound good to a lot of people, but I think people who play video games are probably the biggest babies ever. Like they want things exactly how they want it, and they want it immediately. And I'm guilty of this myself. Obviously it's my job. I'd want it to be exactly how I want it, but I also understand that that's just not how life works. You're never gonna get everything you want exactly when you got it. You're gonna have to adapt to certain situations and find ways to get around things. But seeing it as a job has definitely changed how much I play, how much I enjoy it, because if there's a bad game out and people don't want to see it, you're gonna have to like sometimes do what you don't want to do.
Okay.
But you're also gonna have to, do what's best for you at the end of the day. People still want me to go back and play the Call of Duty that made me, who I am today. But the game's like 4 years old. It's full of cheaters. It's basically impossible to like play and make content on. But people want it that bad. But you're gonna have to do what's best for you and just kind of move on.
So was that the first game that like got you into Call of Duty?
Oh no.
What was your first game that got you into gaming in general? Like, do you have like an OG favorite game that you used to play, or is Call of Duty the reason like you kind of got into it a lot more?
So I've been playing video games as long as I can remember. I actually don't even remember what my first game was, but literally since I can remember, I've been playing video games. But for the longest time, I was like strictly playing like Nintendo stuff because I was young. They were gonna let me play Call of Duty, but
yeah,
I was just mainly playing Nintendo until I think like 2010, 2011. I got like an Xbox 360 for Christmas, and that's when I got into Call of Duty. But I had played Call of Duty beforehand. The first time I'd played Call of Duty was, I think it was like with my cousins or something, because I didn't have an Xbox at the time. And then one of the times I can for sure remember ever playing Call of Duty like on my own was, I was so young that I was being babysat at the time. I was being babysat by this girl, and her boyfriend had a PlayStation 3 with GTA 4 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And that was the first time I'd ever played GTA or Call of Duty. And I enjoyed it a lot, because when you're a kid, this is before video games were taken super seriously. So you could be just getting absolutely cooked, even by like robots and story mode or whatever. You're just dying over and over again, but you're still having fun.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't really care about getting better, improving, or anything like that until like maybe 2015. Because like even when I did start playing Call of Duty, I used to do like ninja diffuses, if you ever like remember that, where you just like hide by a bomb. If someone plants it, you'd go defuse it without them seeing you. I do that. Yeah. I like tried sniping, like pub stomping, all that stuff, and then what really made me want to
destroy a lot back
then?
Yeah.
I got into search and destroy through like friends and family and stuff like that. So I've been playing that forever. I even like played hardcore search and destroy like against my will, like in split screen or whatever, because I used to be like one of those split screeners. So yeah, I wasn't ever too good or anything like that, but it was always fun.
Gotcha. So, and you brought up hackers originally, like kind of like ruining previous games. Like, what do you have to say about like hacking in general now? Like, what games are the biggest problems for it?
It's almost every game nowadays. Any first-person shooter you play is going to be, weirdly enough, one of the games that I know doesn't have like a huge cheating problem, which is like really surprising to me just because of how overall popular it is, but it's Fortnite. Even though I'm not necessarily like the biggest fan of Fortnite. Like, I don't play the game a lot, but I have a lot of respect for the game. Not because of like it making video games cool again, but because of how much support they give their game. And they do kind of do scummy things, but I think they're one of the games that every game should strive to be, in the sense of that game is turned into something as small as like a battle royale into a game where it's almost like you can do anything. You can play Among Us in Fortnite. They have like a map creator. Yeah. You can literally, or you could play Call of Duty inside of Fortnite, but then Activision, got their lawyers on it and they took all that stuff out. But
they print money, Activision, definitely. But like, I agree. Like, it got the casual gamers. Like, I'm not the biggest gamer, but like I was obsessed with Fortnite. Like I like bread and butter every single day. I'm going nuts on Fortnite. So I think it did kind of like draw in a big crowd of people that didn't previously game, and then got them into some other stuff. So,
but even for me, I think it's more the fact of how they support their game. Like, they're constantly trying to listen to the community. And I'm sure people are going to be like, you don't know, you don't play Fortnite. Like, someone's going to tell me something they did. I'm sure they do bad things, but I think compared to something like Call of Duty, where people are constantly asking for the smallest things every single year, for Activision to almost ignore it and, just do what makes them the most money instead of doing what the community or even the game needs to succeed is the biggest difference between Epic Games' Fortnite and Activision's Call of Duty. Because speaking of like hackers and stuff, you can't even go back and play the old Call of Duties. They either just don't work, or what happened to me like a year ago actually was I was playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2, arguably like seen as one of the best Call of Duties of all time, like by the community. Totally. But we were playing it, the original Black Ops 2, through Steam. And a lot of the old Call of Duties, almost like a decent amount of them, they all have an exploit where if you're playing them on Steam, which is the only like legitimate way to get it, like you have to pay money. It's still $60 in the year 2023 to get a game that's 10 years old. It's the only legitimate way to play the game. And even though they're still charging full price for this game and all of its DLCs, everything's full priced, people or hackers, literally anyone, it's the easiest thing to do in the world. They can infiltrate your computer, hack into your computer, and do whatever they want with it. And this is just from playing the game. Yeah, if you just go into multiplayer and play anything, hackers can get into your game, get into your computer, and do whatever they want. So, yeah, because me, Adin Ross, a couple other content creators, we were just playing against each other this one night for money. We're all doing it on stream. And thank God I've never been more blessed in my life that Adin Ross got mad at me because we did well. He kicked me from the game. And the second I got kicked from the game, because we were all streaming at the time, these hackers joined his game. I think there was 3 people in the lobby. It was like Faze, Sway, I think it was Cuffin. But they joined the game and they hacked everyone's computer. I heard that like their cryptocurrencies got stolen. And they just completely infiltrated everything. But like luckily for me,
Ian Ross, he's gotten doxxed like plenty of times too. I've seen like the swatting and all that. So is that why you have like the cat? Like first of all, why do you pick a cat as kind of like your avatar? And aside from doxing, like is that the only reason you conceal your identity? Is that the main reason to not get swatted and all that kind of stuff?
So the main reason I mean I'm pretty open with my viewers and stuff. Like I don't mind telling them things, but the main reason is just because I think people don't realize that once you go into this fully, you can never come out. Once you make the internet a part of your full life, there's no going back. It's kind of like, the way I see it is once you do something on the internet, you can never take it back. If you tweet out something stupid, it's there forever. And I just don't know if this is going to be my whole life. I would like to be able to separate my personal in real life versus my, online alias or whatever.
Gotcha. That makes total sense, honestly.
Yeah. And
you want to you say something, not like you would, but say you said something or tweeted something in like 2012 or something like that, and then you want to get a job and you get like canceled. It just sounds, it's just like the cancel culture is insane now. So, but now aside from just being canceled, I agree. Like you can walk on the street, live a normal life, do whatever you want without people like coming up to you and all that.
Yeah. Because it has nothing to do with like cancel culture for me. It's more just like, I think we're in the era of people just not respecting each other's privacy. Even the smallest things will get you like doxxed, or if you tweet out something that like a Taylor Swift stan doesn't like, now your address is on Twitter. Like if you do the smallest thing that people don't like, and that's because of how I feel like a lot of people still to this day, everything's on the internet now. Like even whether you want it or not, there's nothing you can do. There is really no way to get around getting doxxed. And I know that like it eventually happened to everyone. And that's not the problem for me, because I actually had planned on doing like a face reveal like a really, really long time ago. But then people got really, really weird. I used to like, because I don't have like any in real life friends, right? So when I had started content creation, I had only followed people like I knew on the internet. And people got really, really, really weird when it came to seeing my face. People were getting like DMs. People were pretending to be my cousins and stuff. DMing people would be like, "Do you remember that one time we hang out? Can you just send me a picture of him so I can like?" It was really weird, like because there was a point where I'd even like I was following Ugly God on Twitter because we'd followed each other on or not on Twitter, on Instagram, and people were DMing him because I guess people thought he knew what I looked like. But it got to a point where I just unfollowed everyone because I just didn't want people to get harassed over something they have no control over because none of them know me in person. Yeah. So I just, cut that off completely.
Dude, that is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think you made the right call, honestly. And it probably will continue to benefit you, especially. I've just seen all these videos of people getting swatted, and it's just insane to me, honestly. But aside from that, everything else you brought up. But I did want to ask, too, in your opinion, what are the 3 greatest consoles of all time?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Games as well. I'll kind of give you a double there.
Yeah, for consoles, I'm a young guy, right? So that like speaking on the whole cancel thing, I mean, everything I said before YouTube, I was underage anyways. If people use that excuse, so I give anything, you know what I mean? But
Okay.
that's the thing. Is for me, I think some of the greatest consoles of all time would probably, I don't know. I like Nintendo consoles a lot, but I feel like that's mainly because of their games. Like the Wii is a great one, but I'd probably say for like my era, I'd probably say the Xbox 360's got to be up there. That's like definitely like a good one.
Classic.
Yeah, for
Mine
sure.
still works after like 20 years or whatever, 18, 15
Yeah,
years.
actually, I have my PS3 like across the room over there. It's not. I don't think it's as good as the Xbox, but like it's still pretty good. But
Yeah, my PS2 still runs too. Actually, I mean, that thing is like and same with the GameCube. Just back then, everything just ran like you could throw it off.
it just worked. Like now, everything's just made to not last, so you just buy another one.
Did you run like Mario on Nintendo 64?
No, I wasn't around that back then. I think my first ever like Nintendo console was probably like a Game Boy Advanced or something, like the small one, not like the big purple block one, but it was kind of like a DS, like the ones that flip open.
Okay. I was running the color back in the day.
Yeah, no.
I'm 25. I guess I'm not that old, but now I'm like, the color. It was literally, it was like, whoa, it's in color. Like that's the big selling point. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So you said Xbox 360, PS3, any other?
No, I
ones
probably
that
wouldn't
are
say the PS3. I think just the Xbox simply for like the social aspect. I feel like the Xbox 360 was like the first console where, you know, Xbox Live, Netflix, you could do anything with your friends at the time. And I think PS3 hadn't really like had that aspect like done as well as Xbox did at the time.
So you said the Wii, yeah. I agree with the Wii too. I mean, that was the first time I got Netflix on my thing, and I was like, holy shit.
The Wii was definitely a crazy one. And then for the third one, I don't know. I want to say something new, but I feel like it's like kind of we've plateaued on innovation in the sense of like something being like, wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like it's small and incremental until, you know, maybe one day we'll have that big boom again when something's figured out. But the Wii, Xbox, and maybe.
If you only got two, then
I'd probably say like the DS or something, like the original like Nintendo DS, just because you could play Game Boy games. And I just feel like the thing about Nintendo games is that their games always make up for their lack of hardware. Like the Switch, for example, I kind of hate the Switch. Like it's basically like a tablet with controllers on the side, but the games are so good that it kind of like you're never gonna be able to play a game like Mario Kart on any other console. Like you can only play a game like Mario Kart on a Nintendo Switch.
Totally, I agree 100%. Yeah, I did also want to know too, because I know you're not in a clan, but do you ever plan on joining one or starting one yourself? Like, do you have any clan plans?
So I've heard this a lot, and when it comes to joining an organization, people ask me all the time, why don't I make my own? And if I want to do that, that'd basically be me saying I want to go homeless, you know, because the thing about esports and organizations right now is that I don't know if you ever keep up with them, but basically right now, it's a bubble that's popping, you know. People are getting paid hundreds and thousands of dollars to play video games, and that's all they do. I'm talking mostly about pro players, and I've had a lot to say about this because as someone who creates content on Call of Duty, and I'm mainly speaking about Call of Duty because I think it's one of the most inflated esports. I mean, I've heard a lot of things about like Valorant and stuff like that, which is another game I enjoy a lot. But basically, a Call of Duty pro player will be getting paid $600,000 a year and can't even hit like the go live button or something. And I understand they're playing for like 8 hours a day. They're trying to qualify, all that stuff like that. But I think if you're getting signed to an esports team, you should be also growing your own platform. Because it's happened to a lot of people. Well, they'll join an esports organization or even do something like YouTube and only have one egg in one basket. And as soon as that egg is gone, it's hatched, you go broke. You have to go get a job at like Walmart or something. You know what I mean? I've seen it happen to a lot of people.
They own you. Have you seen that Faze Clan's like stock is down like 99%?
Oh yeah, it's bad. Like that? I tried buying their stock at like $5, and then I don't know if you know who Jake Lucky is. He tweeted out that like Faze members sold all their stock, and I just knew like it ended up not being true, but I just knew at that point it was only going to go down. So I just sold all my stock and I was done with it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a good. I agree. It's 100% a bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already started to pop.
Would you 1v1 anyone in Faze? Like who would you want to 1v1 the most right now in Call of Duty? If you could pick anyone that you haven't been able to.
Yeah. So recently, actually, me and Faze Rain made a video. Because I've been talking to him like behind the scenes for a little bit now. He's a really cool guy. I think I met him back in like 2020. He came in my chat. He showed love to me, and we've been talking recently. We were actually supposed to make like a 1v1 video like a little bit ago, but we ended up doing some other video. But it'd probably be him just because he's a really cool guy to hang out with. Because for me, I don't really care about showing like skill anymore. A lot of people who watch me seem to think that's what I'm there for, is just to like show how good I am. But initially, my whole content idea was to just be able to, show reactions more than anything. Like my original content was kind of based off of old Call of Duty videos. So that was kind of why I never really talked. It's not like I didn't have my voice in. It's just like I just didn't talk as much.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't like super fast paced, super cut, super edited, just because I liked that old style of content that was, back from like the early 2010s, where, people didn't have like crazy setups. People didn't have like, some people just didn't even have microphones,
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Just
what my,
raw,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've definitely kind of moved away from that. And it's not something I necessarily want to do. It's almost something like I feel like I have to do if I want to, keep up with the times. You know what I mean? Because that's what a lot of people, I feel like you have to adapt. And as much as people like to say they like miss when I didn't talk, I kind of miss when I didn't talk either. Because I definitely say some cringe. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of cringe, but also speaking on like the whole cat thing, this is just like a default model. You know what I mean? Like I have a custom model made. I just never ended up using it because it was like an anime character, and I thought that was like kind of cringe because like I like anime, right? But like it's like, because it's like a whole VTubing thing. So like what this is called is like VTubing, and a lot of them are like anime characters. I had one made for me. It was really expensive, but I kind of just like looked at it. I was like, I like the cat because you kind of can't take it seriously. It's not something like you're supposed to be like.
I'm like looking at you right now, and I'm like, it's kind of fun though. Like the ears kind of flirl up every once in a while.
Yeah, I can like it like tracks like my blinking. Like I can close one eye, I can like stick out my tongue, and it'll like track everything. It's like really cool. It's the technology is only gonna get better. I want to get to a point where I have like 3D models made of like using Call of Duty assets of like characters and stuff that I've like used for like thumbnails or whatever. But I want to get to a point where I can have like my full body tracked if I'm not already like face camming or something. Because honestly, I do actually want a face cam. Like I think about it all the time. I would much rather, do like actual face cam content. I feel like it's a lot more fun to watch, even though this is like, I think this is definitely better than, there being nothing at all, especially when you're streaming. I don't think, many people want to watch just the gameplay anymore and hear reactions behind it. And like, I think you seeing someone moving, reacting in real time is a lot better for sure.
Totally. That's sick. I had a couple more questions for you too, just kind of in like the gaming sphere of like development.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dr. Disrespect recently made a game. I'm wondering like, would you ever have any plans to make a game, or if you hypothetically did, what kind of game would it be? Or is that something that like is of no interest to you?
I was actually thinking about it like today or yesterday. Not really? Like, yeah, but it was only because, so I'm not sure if you know, but recently, you know how I was talking about like every Call of Duty game like that's old, you just can't play anymore because the hackers, like they just infect your PC and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
So there had been, I guess, clients, I guess is a way you can call them, a client where you could play old Call of Duty games. So basically there was a community of modders who would take the game and then make a client for it where you could play the game safely for free and basically not have to deal with all the microtransactions. It would unlock everything for you. It'd be the only way, like the only safe way to play the game. There would be a server browser, all that stuff. You wouldn't have to worry about cheaters. You wouldn't have to worry about people infecting your PC. It was basically the only safe way to play the game. And the only issue is that, I don't really know if it was an issue to Activision, but basically people would pirate the game. Now Activision isn't seeing that money in their pocket from Steam. So recently, Activision, I think it was yesterday actually, Activision had sent this client is called X Labs, by the way, and they had been around for a really long time. I don't know how long exactly, but it's been years.
Okay.
And they had sent a cease and desist to S1X, which is the I guess the group that makes these clients. And this client was for Modern Warfare 2, Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty Ghost, and Black Ops 3. And they sent a cease and desist letter basically saying you had to shut everything down. And this is right after, I think it's been a week since they also shut down another. This is like actually supposed to be a completely new game. So these group of modders are making a game not from the ground up, but based off of a Call of Duty engine, where it was basically every Call of Duty in one. So it was all the guns, all the maps, all the good stuff, and they were also, making their own changes and their own progression to the game. So it wasn't like they were just like, here, have the Call of Duty game, now you can play without cheaters. They were making their own game from the ground up. And
they just shut it down.
Yeah, they shut it down, and this is after 2 years of work, and the whole Call of Duty community was super hyped. Like they had been hyping this up for a while, and then I believe the reason they had shut this down, I don't know anymore, because of the the shutdown yesterday, because the other one, they never said you didn't have to buy the game. Like, they said you needed to own the game, but the issue was that like people were pirating anyway.
It's just wild because they put so much money into stopping like cheating, and then it gets patched in like a day.
Yeah.
Like, and then do you know why they would even do that? Is it just because like, if you already own the game, it doesn't really make sense. They just don't want it out of their hands. Like, I don't know either. It's wild.
It is really weird considering they won't fix the exploits that are in the actual like retail versions of the game. Because the reason people assumed that they shut down SM2, which is like the fan Call of Duty game, was they had recently changed engines. So originally they said you needed to buy an original copy of Modern Warfare 2000 or Modern Warfare 2 2009. They said you needed an original copy bought from Steam. But because of how old the game is, there was like technical limitations that they were running into, and they're like, we don't want to deal with this. We're gonna move over to a newer engine. So what they did was they moved over to the Modern Warfare Remastered engine, and that game came out in 2016. They moved over to that, but they said, you don't need to buy this one. We realize we made a lot of you buy that original Modern Warfare 2 game, but now that you've already spent the money, we don't want you to spend money again. They didn't say they would let you pirate it, but they just said you didn't need the game. And everyone assumed Activision was like, we don't like that. Like, you're done now. But then after they sent that out, they did it to the other, like to the X Labs where you did have to have the game. So now no one knows why they're doing it. People just assume they just want you to buy the game anyway, but no one's gonna buy the game because the games aren't safe to play. So it's a really weird situation.
That's wild. Do you think SM2 is coming back? Or
No, not at all.
Shut down forever?
Yeah, no, I don't. And the thing is I think this is really set back like game preservation in itself, because Nintendo is kind of known for shutting down like any modifications to their game. Like if you do anything to a Nintendo game, like you're done. And I feel like Activision is kind of like, they're kind of taking the same steps, but I think this is an extremely bad idea. I would completely understand if they took down these like projects and fixed their own games, but I mean, people had been complaining for years about how unsafe they were. And recently, I forgot what happened, but I think they actually did try to update the game. It did nothing. It literally did nothing. They tried to update one of their games on Steam, and it still didn't, like, because it's so bad to, like, this is a different game. This is Black Ops 3. A lot of streamers can't even play the game. There's this program where it'll literally tell you, like, you don't even have to have the game open. There's just this list of names, and you can tell the second they get online, you press a button and their game just insta-crashes. So if they want to make content and play the game, you can't. It'll literally just immediately tell the hacker if you get on and just close your game.
Dude, so they're just out of control. There's no reason.
Bad.
There's no reason for it.
Yeah, I assume they just want people to buy their game, but I don't think that's really gonna happen unless maybe you're on console. But even like the old games, like Modern Warfare 3, you can't even play it on console just because it's so old. The matchmaking doesn't work.
Yeah, that's so. Do you think like what are your thoughts on the future of gaming, like in the next like 10, 20 years? This might be kind of like my last question here to kind of leave things off. Like, what do you envision it being like? And do you think Call of Duty can keep on rinse and repeating, making these games, or are things going to change? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think Call of Duty will survive for as long as it wants to. I think the only game that can kill Call of Duty is itself, just because it's been so popular for so long. I mean, I'm sure you've heard people. Are you like super familiar with Call of Duty or no?
Oh yeah. I played pretty much all of them up until maybe the last 2 or so, once I got really busy doing content.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up on Call of Duty as well from the OG days. I even had the World at War, like with the freaking nunchuck. I mean, I wasn't playing on a PC, but like I was running like Wii and Xbox 360 mostly.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is still going to be relevant for a really long time. It's something we call like the COD cycle. So every time a Call of Duty releases, people like it for like the first week. Then a couple months goes by, everyone's like, this game sucks. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've heard your friends say, this game sucks. I'm never buying another Call of Duty again. Then the trailer for the next Call of Duty comes out. People get super hyped. It comes out, this is the best Call of Duty ever. And then another, it's just a cycle. It'll keep going on forever. No matter how bad they make the game, people will buy the game. It's too popular to go on its own. And they put a lot of money. I mean, they made $1 billion in 3 days with the last Call of Duty. That's a money that will forever, like, they'll take that money and keep putting into itself over and over and over again.
GTA 5, I think, made like $1 billion, but they put in way more effort off the rip in like 1 or 2 days. But yeah, Call of Duty every single year can just run that shit again and again.
Like even this year, like for 2023, there were supposed to be no Call of Duty. This was supposed to be the first Call of Duty that had a 2-year cycle. This Call of Duty did really good. I mean, it made $1 billion in 3 days, but then it had a steep drop off. There was not enough players playing the game, so they're like, all right, well, this game isn't going to keep making us money. We got to make a new one. And now they're making a sequel to Modern Warfare 2 in a year and a half, which is, I'm not sure how that's really going to work out. But what I think the future of gaming is right now, I think we're kind of in a bad spot. I think, the whole esports bubble is starting to pop. A lot of people are getting laid off. And I think it's the same thing with content creation. We're not in COVID anymore. Like, people are not sitting at home and are going to watch content creators, are going to watch video games, or even going to play video games. People have their own life to live. And I think, especially with maybe, the economy not doing so well, or I guess projected not to do so well, I think things are going to change even more. There's going to be less money. So I think things are already getting ultra competitive, but it's only going to get more and more competitive. People don't have the time or the money to keep spending on every video game every year, or just there's too many video games out right now. So it's only kind of be like the kings that stand out. There's going to be less competition and more of a monopoly, I think. But I do think right now the biggest issue with first-person shooter games is like the whole cheating problem. It's not that bad in some games, but it's only getting worse just because I kind of do think it's because of Fortnite. People saw how much money you can make just from playing a video game. So now every video game is ultra competitive. You have to be the best of the best. People are always trying to make content, always trying to make TikToks. And I think it's only going to get, more and more competitive, just the same way gaming is, the same way content creation is. It's evolving.
I might be popping in there too, and people will be like running like bots that can just like, it's just impossible.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to get into as well. People are actually teaching AI how to play video games. Like, they have it watching gameplay and teaching that, but also there's an anti-cheat that I don't know if it's being used in, I think it is being used in some video games right now. I mean, I heard that even the Call of Duty anti-cheat does have some AI usage to it, but there's an anti-cheat that's completely using AI, and it'll be able to tell if you're on a new account just because it'll know the way you played. It'll watch the way you play. If it sees you're cheating and you're on a new account and it sees that you're playing the same way you played on your old account, it'll ban you that way. But I really do think, because it's always going to be a game of cat and mouse, you know what I mean? Cheaters are going to evolve, the anti-cheat's going to get evolved, it's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's always going to be that game of cat and mouse, but it's really weird. I'm not sure, because I want video games to keep going on forever, but I am worried that they are going to eventually kind of like have a big, I guess, depression, if you know what I mean. Gotcha. Just because of, video games nowadays are made by psychologists almost, These video games are being made to basically get you to spend as much time and as much money as possible. There's a reason that video games have daily sign-in bonuses. They want you to go back into the game every single day, play a couple games, get off, and feel like you have to get on the next day. It's basically just trying to get you to get that little hit of dopamine, then, kind of take it away from you, go back and forth over and over again, which is
like TikTok.
Yeah.
They just know how to reel you back in, yeah.
And it is something that worries me, because I do think it's getting to the point where it's very addictive. Not even video games, but I just feel like that's kind of almost the meta of being successful nowadays, is almost making your users addicted to you. Feeling like they have to get on or have to go to your, social media platform, whatever it might be, over and over and over again to get that hit of dopamine over and over again. It's a little scary.
Yeah. It's some like 1984 stuff, bro.
Yeah. It definitely worries me, but I mean, I personally enjoy video games. I don't play them as much as I used to, which is, I think, is my own fault, just because I want to make better content. I'm all about like, making yourself a better person. And I don't know. I don't like to be a negative person. I like to be honest.
With content, or is it mostly really like you and just a few others? So
I've been trying to set that up for myself, because for the first couple years, like I would probably say for like the last year, I've been trying to set up, having editors and having a team behind me with like graphic designers and stuff like that. But for a lot of it, I have been doing it on my own. But recently, I have like a couple editors I'm trying to have, work consistently. The issue with that is, though, for me, is it makes it very hard to get out content, because, myself, like before, when I edited my videos, they weren't super edited. I was getting a video done in a couple hours. I was uploading very consistently. And now I'm trying to have, people work for me. And it's always going to be hard for them to see, like, when you have someone editing your content, it's always going to be extremely hard for them to see a piece of content the way you would see it. If you send someone raw footage, they're almost never going to see it the way you do, which is probably the hardest thing. Is you'll send someone a bunch of clips and you'll be like, this is gonna be a banger. They're gonna make it exactly how I want it. They just never do, and that's not their fault. It's just something that you have to teach them. That comes with time.
Yeah,
But
like
that's
Blake, who you were talking to earlier here, you can pop in here for a sec. It was just me alone, and basically for me, he eventually learned exactly my style, and obviously it's less complex than like gaming footage and all that, but yeah, it is. I feel like getting the team and like growing it is like you just don't want to give up your baby and all that kind of stuff, and then eventually they kind of learn, but it's just like and you have to do it with everyone, so yeah.
For sure, yeah. And that's something I do want to have though, because I do think once you've hit that certain point, you need a team behind you, or it'll just become too much for you to handle. But that's always why I like to give people the because people always ask me how to become a content creator. I think when you're starting out, you should just upload content that you enjoy making and that you think is genuinely good. I think when you haven't had a fan base yet, you can upload it as infrequently as you want. Just make sure everything is a banger. If everything's a banger, someone's eventually going to find your content and have a bunch of banger content to fall back on. If you already have the name, honestly, it doesn't really matter if you make like a bad video every once in a while. Obviously, you shouldn't try to. You should always try to make sure everything's a banger, but that's when you need to be consistent. You need to keep hitting it out of the park every single time. People will watch, people will share, but when you're that small creator, doing what you actually enjoy, because people can tell if you're having fun when you're making something. If people can sense that and people like the content you're making, you'll only grow. No one will ever watch your content and be like, that was a good video. He seemed like he was having fun. I'm gonna dislike the video. No one's ever gonna do that. But if you're, if you're putting out bad videos, like, and you have no audience, you're only hurting yourself. And that also comes with streaming. A lot of people, when they think that they want to start making content, they always think streaming is the way to go. But streaming without an audience that you already have beforehand is just a waste of time. I can almost promise you've never gone on Twitch and then scrolled all the way to the bottom to the thousands of people who have 0 viewers. Like, that's just never gonna work.
Yeah, unless you're Mr. Beast hopping in there to give someone, $400,000, but
yeah,
it just doesn't happen. Yeah,
it's always better to just make an audience off of like TikTok and YouTube and just post bangers as infrequently as you need. As long as you're making sure every video is a good one, you'll eventually grow. And then that's when you need to start being consistent. Because for me, like before I had posted like the nuke video that made me who I am today, I was just posting whatever I wanted. If it was something I thought because that nuke video was something I thought was interested in. I thought I was like, damn, this is kind of cool. Like. I've never done something like this before, so I uploaded it, and that video flopped for months. I think I uploaded that video in April. I don't think it got any traction until like May or June, so it took like a month or two before it even got traction. But when it got traction, it got crazy traction, and it wasn't even a good video. It was just something that was cool.
Random, like randomly, like months later, you'll have a video just pop off because someone saw it and shared it, and then, I agree though. I think that's really good advice for people. Is just like, especially with reposting on clips on short form, like you can't just pop in with 0 followers and expect people to join without like actually just plucking and putting on various platforms. Like, are you active on all platforms, or aside from just like YouTube, Twitch?
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm trying to get a whole team. Is that I kind of like almost burnt myself out, and I definitely think the lack of quality in the last couple of the last couple of Call of Duties has definitely hurt that. Just because people are less interested, I myself have become less interested. So it definitely kind of hurt me, and definitely having editors made, content coming out a lot slower. But recently I did get someone to start posting on TikTok for me. Though they aren't necessarily the TikToks I'm looking to have being posted, because they're kind of just gameplay clips. But I don't really want to make a lazy content, if that makes sense. This is nothing against the person. That is like a meta on TikTok, but that isn't really what I want to do. I want to have a story behind every TikTok, every video, because I think now that we're not in COVID, no one's really gonna want to watch just like a clip of me killing like 5 people. Like, I just think that I think content creation is going to have a very competitive. It already is competitive, but I think it's only gonna get more competitive. Mr. Beast has almost set the standard for how a video should be made. It should have a story. It should be well edited, well paced, and you kind of just can't bullshit anything anymore, because someone's gonna do what you're doing but better every single time. If you think you're making the best content, wait a couple months. If you get complacent, someone's gonna post something better than you, and that's where you start to fall off. You know what I mean? Because I've genuinely think I've fallen off, but I'm okay with realizing something, accepting it, and then trying to change. Because I think if you sit there and you constantly, I think it's okay to have an ego. I want you to think I'm the best, I'm him. You know what I mean? Like, that's a great mindset to have. But if it's to the point where you're delusional, you're never gonna succeed. You have to be honest with yourself, and I think surrounding yourself with people who can be honest with you is one of the strongest things you could ever those are the people you want around you. You don't want people just,
the yes man.
Yeah, I was gonna say something else, but you definitely put in a,
Yeah,
a better
just
word than I did.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, and that's definitely like an issue I've had. Not like, people just being yes men, but I've definitely surrounded myself with the wrong people. I think me, starting off the way I did, I've definitely learned a lot. I think I've learned a lot in a short amount of time, but I think I need to apply those things to myself before I think that's like my next step.
Gotcha. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fuck yeah. I think that's all the questions I got. Honestly, that's super dope. Yeah.
I got a question for you, really
One
fast.
question
When's the last time you touched grass?
I think I went out last night. Wait, no, did I leave the house last night? I don't know. I'm actually thinking.
It's been months.
It's been a while.
Hell yeah. Dope, bro. Well, yeah, this is awesome. I really appreciate you popping on here.
For sure.